Welcome to the Lake Erie session of the Lake Committee meetings. My name's Kurt Oldenburg. I'm co-chair of the Standing Technical Committee, and I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce the Lake Erie Committee. From Michigan Department of Natural Resources, the chair, Mr. Jim Francis, Vice Chair Brian Locke from Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, Don Einhaus from New York Department of Environmental Conservation, Chuck Murray from Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission, and Jeff Tyson from Ohio Department of Natural Resources. So we got quite a good agenda for the next 2 days. This is the State of Lake reporting for Lake Erie. And, one thing, a bit of a housekeeping that I want to bring up is that there is, at the end of today, at approximately 5 o'clock, a facilitated public input session, and you have to register for this. And the registration forms are at the back. You can see John Detmers is holding it up, or at the registration table. We'd like those to be submitted by 4:30 this afternoon if possible. And if you've got any questions, talk to me or John. And with that, I will start with the Standing Technical Committee update. And the members of the Standing Technical Committee doing double duty is Jim Francis from Michigan, and as well Chuck Murray from Pennsylvania, who are also on the Standing Technical Committee. Rounding out, we have Jim Markham from New York DEC and Chris Vandergoot from Ohio DNR. And we have 4 charges that we've gotten last year. One is to prepare this agenda. We also sit on the technical committee chairs of the Council Lake Committee subcommittee, so to represent that. We're to oversee the structured decision-making application with Michigan State University's Quantitative Fisheries Center, the Walleye Task Group, and Yellow Perch Task Group towards development of a new exploitation policies with Lake Erie Perkid Management Advisory Group, the LEC process, and I'll get more to that later, and to produce a walleye management plan. So my update will just be focusing on the last 2 charges. And the Lake Erie Perkid Management Advisory Group is a group that consists of stakeholders and agencies around Lake Erie to advise the Lake Erie Committee on perkid management, facilitated and with technical assistance by the Michigan State University Quantitative Fisheries Center. So far we've had 14 meetings, and it started off with a stakeholder workshop in November of 2010, so this is a long-term project. And the group looked at doing walleye first. They thought it might be easier. But anyways, LEC, or LEC, based on the LEC recommendations, agreed upon changes to the 2013-14 assessment model that used a model that estimated selectivity for all ages, had a random walk catchability feature, multinomial representation of age composition, and integrated age 0 trawl data into the model, which the previous model had done as a regression outside the model. In 2014, or last year, based on LEC discussions and a MSE, which stands for Management Strategy Evaluation, that reviewed a range of policies and resulting trade-offs and objectives, they decided on a harvest policy for walleye that gave the fishing rate at 60% of FMSY, had a limit reference point of 20% of the unfished spawning stock biomass, had an interannual TAC constraint plus or minus 20%, and also implemented this P-star, which is a risk-based rule preventing falling below that limit reference point in the future. And LEC also recommended to LEC some future considerations, one of them to evaluate and incorporate additional data sets to improve the recruitment estimates, to review tagging data to improve natural mortality estimates, or M, and to explore incorporation of East Basin walleye into the model. Currently, the East Basin walleye are not included in this model. So, with the walleye management plan, the outline of the plan is that there's a retrospective of past performance and management of walleye in Lake Erie. There's a section that describes the plan revision and the LEC process, goes through the management strategy evaluation and talks about the model revisions that were decided upon and the exploitation policies. There's metrics for measurement of the plan performance and triggers and timeframes for the plan review and reevaluation. And right now, the final draft is completed and has been reviewed by LEC members, and we're going through those comments right now, currently, and we're hoping for a wider public review this coming spring with anticipate having it completed by this year, hopefully. And this slide I'm just going to briefly touch on that while we were talking about walleye and focusing mostly at LEC meetings on walleye, yellow perch discussions started to come into the LEC. This was scoping out things like uncertainties and what surveys are involved and what models are going through the yellow perch task group, and looking at preliminary stock assessment models. Once the walleye plan sort of got near completion, and last year, LEC started to focus on yellow perch. And there were 4 meetings in 2014. The big one we had in October was that we had a technical review panel that had experts advising the QFC and the LEC group on modeling and giving some advice there. And the QFC subsequently met with the Yellow Perch Task Group in December to review the recommendations and look for a path forward. So the meetings that are coming through this current year will be looking at the modeling. And I think the next one's probably scheduled for around June. For the LEC process, we'd like to acknowledge the Michigan State University Quantitative Fisheries Center, Dr. Michael Jones, who had been the facilitator for all of these talks, Dr. Matt Catalano, Lisa Peterson, Renee Riley. We'd also like to thank John Detmers from the Fishery Commission, for which this wouldn't all happen without you. And our 2 technical review panels, one for the walleye, one for the yellow perch that happened in October. I've got to thank the stakeholders because LEC wouldn't have happened without them, and the walleye and yellow perch task groups. Now, since this is State of the Lake, I thought I'd spend a bit of time going over our fish community goals and objectives. Because the State of the Lake, as you know, or you should know, you should report on the progress that the lake committees are making towards their fish community goals and objectives. So 2014 was our year. So we have 2 main goals. One of them is to secure a balanced, predominantly cool water fish community with walleye as the key predator in the Western Basin, Central Basin, and nearshore waters of the Eastern Basin, characterized by self-sustaining indigenous and natural species that occupy diverse habitats, provide valuable fisheries, and reflect a healthy ecosystem. And the second goal is to secure a predominantly cold water fishery in the deep offshore waters of the Eastern Basin with lake trout and burbot as key predators. Now there are about 14 objectives, and I'll just touch on them briefly. The grayed out areas down here, we have some talks throughout the next couple of days, and this is, the talks are sort of connected with the objectives. So, our first objective is the ecosystem conditions, which is to maintain mesotrophic conditions of 10 to 20 micrograms a liter of phosphorus that favor the dominant cool water organisms in those areas. Productivity and yield, secure a potential annual sustainable harvest of 13.6 to 27.3 million kilograms of highly valued fish. Maintain nearshore habitat that can support high quality fisheries for smallmouth bass, northern pike, muskie, yellow perch, and walleye. Protect and restore self-sustaining stream spawning stocks of walleye, white bass, lake sturgeon, and rainbow trout. We have 3 objectives that are basin specific. The Western Basin to provide sustainable harvests of walleye, yellow perch, smallmouth bass, and other desired fish. In the Central Basin, we also add rainbow smelt and rainbow trout to that list. And in the Eastern Basin, we add lake trout and other salmonids, and to restore a self-sustaining population of lake trout to historic levels of abundance. Contaminants, reduce contaminants in all fish species to a level that require no advisory for human consumption and that cause no detrimental effects on fish-eating wildlife, behavior, productivity. Protect, enhance, and restore fish habitat through the watershed to prevent degradation and foster restoration of the fish community, and maintain and promote genetic diversity by identifying, rehabilitating, conserving, and protecting locally adapted stocks. Prevent extinction by protecting rare, threatened, and endangered fish species, for example, lake sturgeon and lake herring or cisco, and their habitats. Maintain a diversity of forage fishes to support terminal predators and to sustain human use, and manage the food web structure of Lake Erie to optimize production of highly valued fish species. Recognize the importance of diarrhea and hexagenia as key species in the food web and as important indicators of habitat sustainability. And we'd also like to thank beyond the usual suspects of task group work and presentations. We'd like to thank Ed Roseman from USGS, Jim Boyce from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Paris Collingsworth from Environmental Protection Agency, Stu Ludson from Ohio State, Renee Riley from Michigan State, and Brent Lofgren from NOAA for providing additional presentations for the State of the Lake Committee meeting. And the other thing, finally, that I have to announce is that there's also an announcement that Lake Erie Committee is looking at setting up a secondary fisheries assessment modeling working group. We haven't really caught on to the name, the exact official name yet, but it will include Lake Erie Committee agency biologists and stakeholders with the assistance of outside agencies and academia to advise the Lake Erie Committee on assessment modeling needs for secondary and data poor fisheries to improve knowledge and assist in fulfilling sustainability and certification requirements. This is, I guess we've got the success of the walleye to look forward to, and we're sort of looking at it in an ecosystem approach and a whole approach. So that will be coming in the next year. I guess it'll be formed, and hopefully you'll hear more about it as the year progresses. And so, does anyone have any questions, since I have